Hi, I'm Rick Péwé for Gone Jeepin'. Today we have a real special Jeep. This one is a CJ2A, but as you can see, there's something a little funny going on with it. Its name is Tater, and we'll tell you why later. So let's look at this mostly stock CJ2A. It belongs to staffer Traci Clark, and she's had it a few years, and it's got quite a few surprises you're going to be interested in. Check this out. So again, this is a mostly stock CJ2A, except it's not. Check out this engine. It is the F-head 134. That means the valves are on top and in the block as opposed to the stock flathead 4. The interesting thing is this engine is stock to this Jeep. Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. But as most of you know, when you put a F-134 into a flat fender, this is what happens. You get a big hole cut out in the hood. That didn't happen here because all they did is notch this, and the most important part, this is a Holley 1904 carburetor. That's off like some international bread vans in the 60s and some Ford trucks. It's a pretty common carb. Bolt spacing is correct. You got to massage the valve cover a little and fiddle a little bit with the linkage, but it works great, and it keeps you from putting that terrible hole in the hood. All right, so with this Jeep, we're going to have a lot of calls from the Jeep police and all those rivet counters who are just going to have a cow with the modifications on this Jeep. Remember I said that that stock F-head engine was stock to this Jeep, and it is. So we're not going to tell you everything, but we're going to say that the original owner of this wanted it to look like a military Jeep. Originally had a 9-slot World War II Jeep grill on it. It has an MB World War II windshield. You'll notice the glove box. That's pretty cool because that's only for the World War II Jeeps. The grab handles, all four grab handles are there. Spare tire, instead of being on the side, is on the rear like the military, so they went with the gas can. And a lot of cool little details inside. The question is, can you figure it out? Leave comments below and let us know what you think. Show your work. So inside of a Jeep, you'll notice the most important thing is the dash. The dash will tell you a lot of things about a Jeep, just like looking at a person's face. So first thing you'll notice, World War II glove box. So it's a World War II Jeep, right? Well, maybe, maybe not. Check out this 3 rivets where a key switch behind the dash was on a CJ2A. That's civilian. All right, keep coming this way and you notice this big old hump. Originally that was for the column shift on a civilian Jeep, and on a World War II Jeep it was flat. So that tells you something's going on here too. But then you look at the steering wheel, this is definitely early World War II, beautiful all drive green plastic, nice small spokes. A little bit later, horned knob, but can't have everything. But then you look at the pedals, simple Willys early pedals, but check it out. It has a T90 transmission, which is only post-war. Original was a T84, a little bit weaker. This has the T90, which is of course a lot stronger. So if you're trying to tell what year this Jeep is, you'll realize it's a mishmash of excellent parts, and that's why it's called Tater, for tater salad. So remember, this is a World War II windshield, which is really cool because it'll ventilate. You can crank these knobs out and the whole glass folds out. Super handy in hot weather. The other neat thing is that it folds down, of course, like any regular Jeep windshield should, easily. However, here's the cool part. You look at this, there's an extra hood hook on the hood. What's that for? Well, it comes around and hooks to the windshield and keeps the windshield down. But even better, let's say you want your windshield up, and you put your hood up. The same hook will hold your hood up to the windshield, and now you won't have to worry about it falling down in the wind. A lot of the early military ideas did not carry over to the civilian. Maybe they should have, but that's also why this owner took this windshield and put it on a civilian hood, which is why it says Willys. Here's a cool item too. These little wing nuts, of course, are adjustable for tension on here as well as to take it off. One unfortunate item is sometimes these will jiggle loose. Originally the military had a chain hooked to that hole and around this, so no matter what, if you're taking the windshield off or just loosening it up, you're not going to lose this wing nut. Can you imagine how many GIs lost those wing nuts until that chain was put on? You know that the original military models MB and GPW did not have a tailgate. It was solid. This one, of course, since it is a CJ2A-ish body, has a tailgate in here with chains, and it functions and it works great. You also notice that even though it has the military handles, it has the civilian bow pockets. So that tells you again, everything is not as it seems. And of course the gas can on the military was right here, whereas the civilian never had a gas can mounted. Also the spare tire originally on the civilian is over on the side, military is on the rear. On a World War II model, you had a seat frame that folded forward and nothing was there. On this model, civilian and later, they have a little interesting place to store stuff like dead wires and such. The problem is it collected water and most of these are rotted out on the bottom. This one survived fine. The lid closes tight. The gasket doesn't allow any water in or vermin. And the seat, of course, folds right like that. The advantage over the civilian model, though, is that the seat frame comes out. And now you have a camp chair. Right like that, amid the cactus of Colorado, you have a camp chair without hauling it around or taking it out of the bag or losing the bag. That's what Jeeping's all about. Here's another one for the Jeep police. You know that the military Model MB filled from under the seat for the gas tank. The civilian had it on the side. However, we've also put this handle here, which is real typical of later M38 military as well as World War II military. So you have a little bit of both on this one. It's amazing what olive drab will do for a Jeep. Instantly it's an Army Jeep. Instantly everybody will tell you at the gas station, yeah, I had one just like it in Vietnam, except it was red and it wasn't a Jeep. So civilian Jeeps, of course, were mainly marketed at the farmer and the agriculture industry. And they had this giant drawbar underneath and this big thing that came out and nailed your shins every time you walked by. The military, on the other hand, had these cute little things called Bumperettes. And why are they called Bumperettes? Well, because they're small bumpers. And the design is they will crush before the frame does, which is really kind of convenient. And then, of course, the military also specified a pintle hook because that's what you use for the lunette on towing a little Jeep trailer or anything else. So you can interchange them, of course, between military and civilian as long as all the parts are intact. This big hole here is actually for a powered takeoff on the civilian models that came off the transfer case, came out here, and a variety of instruments could be put on, like a belt pulley drive and all sorts of things. So that's kind of a cool thing. So again, when you meld the civilian and the military, you get some awesome, awesome stuff. So when you're deciding on tires for a Jeep, you have two basic ideas, schools of thought. A lot of people want to see nothing but the non-directional tread, the military looking ones with the offset bars, and that's great. But I prefer, for a Jeep like this, some sort of a old style mud and snow. Kind of hard to find. You don't go down to Discount Tire and order these up. We got these out of Coker Tire because they make these Specialty Tires of America. It's an H7815. So that size is about a 31, 32. And it's called the Super Traction with an X, of course. And they're a phenomenal all-around tire. They're tubeless. You can put a tube in them, of course, but we air these down all the time to like 10 pounds for off-road. 20 is more than enough for on-road for this weight of vehicle and the speeds that we run. So this is a very popular tire. Super Traction, Specialty Tires of America, can't say good enough things about them. I got them on like 3 of my vehicles. They're that nice. Original World War II wheels were a two-piece, bolt together, split rim. Now it's not like a split rim like you go to a truck shop now with a big ring that's going to kill you and explode. They were simply bolted together, and they had a flap and an inner tube. And you could see all these bolts holding them together. The idea was, of course, you could service it in the field. Now, no one's going to be doing that when somebody's shooting at you, but back at the ordnance station, people would actually replace that stuff. For this one, it came with 15-inch rims, which was an option for the civilian. You could get 16 or 15, believe it or not. So since we had the rims, they're in good shape, had proper piece here where it actually flexes a little as it's supposed to. It was a better choice. Remember, civilian Jeeps came with 538 gears, and the early Army Jeeps came with 488. So they were a little quicker. They had a little shorter tire. This is a little taller tire. This is like a 750 16, something like that, rather than the earlier 600 16 with the 488 gears. So one of the most common conversions ever done to any old Jeep is the front bumper. It's usually replaced because it's gotten bent, and we're talking bent. I don't know why people like to run into trees and rocks, but they do. So this one is about a 4-inch C-channel. This is probably heavier than the engine block. However, it is stout. It's a good place to mount your tow bar, and is really common back in the day. However, what you got to worry about is how this heavy bumper impacts the frame. Jeep frames are not exceedingly stout in this area, and there's about 4 different variations. Of course, the original World War II Jeep came up kind of spindly and had gussets like this that went around the front bumper. The civilian Jeep, CJ2A, did the same thing. Then when the CJ3A came along, it was one piece, came up, and your bumper fit over it. On the CJ3B, which was the next version, it was like this, where you had half a gusset underneath, and it's a little bit different. Then, of course, we go to a CJ5, which is a whole nother ball game, and we don't really care about that right now because we're talking flat fenders. So be careful when you're buying a Jeep or looking at one. Make sure that the frame rail is clean through here, or it's going to give you a lot of trouble because your front of your leaf spring mounts to it, and if it's off, you can be dog tracking, you can have poor steering, and it's all because of your front frame rails. The grills on military and civilian Jeeps, of course, are different, and one of the key features is the size of the headlight and the amount of slots. Military Jeeps have the smaller headlight that is behind the grill, and you have 9 slots. Then the civilian CJ2A, 3A come out, and it's 7 slots, large 6-inch round, and very early 2As had this cutout and a little marker light. This one has had the military blackout light replaced, so it gives you that military flavor, but it is a civilian Jeep grill. Later on, the M38 had the same grill with 7 slots. It also had a blackout light, but the headlights, although large, had a different ring and a bar across them. So that's how you know that this one is a civilian grill. So thanks for watching and maybe learning a little bit about Jeeps today on Gone Jeepin'. Let us know what you think this is. We know what it is, but share your comments below. And again, I'm Rick Péwé for Gone Jeepin'. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.